Hello and welcome, it is Debs here, and as always it's great to have you with me. So I wanted to talk to you today about something I've been playing with about how I am changing my own unhelpful behaviour. So a long time ago I was once accused of not walking my talk, and this has inspired me ever since not to ask things of others that I am not prepared to investigate for myself. Now realistically I can't experience everything that happens to everyone, but I will, obviously, as a human being, and I do have a fair share of stuff that happens to me, and I like playing with stuff. I know one of the things I say a lot to people, and I share, speak to my clients a lot about, is bringing stuff back to you. I bring stuff back to myself all the time. I like to recognise when I'm believing that other people should be different and bring that back to me and see where I can change, see where that it's me that needs to do that, and not put anything onto anyone else. And lately, one of the things that I've been seeing is there's four aspects to us as human beings, almost like sort of four parts. So we have our bodies, and then we have our personal thoughts and emotions. Obviously we can see our bodies, but we can't see that our personal thinking and our emotions, but we all know we have them. And then we have our intellect, our knowledge that we've collected over time, that sort of thing. And then we have our deeper spiritual nature, that part of us that is divine, that comes through us. And our spiritual nature is our highest point, if you like. That's the highest part of us. And for the most part, before we kind of begin this waking up process, before we've started to wake up to our spiritual nature, we tend to be controlled by one or more of those lower three things, our body, our emotions, and our personal thoughts and emotions, and our intellect. But to live from peace of mind and freedom, to consciously create a life that we really love, we have to learn to put our spiritual nature first, for that to be our first place we go. And it's like, for want of better words, our spiritual nature must have dominion or control over those lower three. Now, it's not control in in the sense of a controlling relationship. It's not. This is loving guidance, and the lower parts of our nature, when we awaken spiritually, those lower parts of our nature are going to come into our spiritual nature, and we're not going to lose anything, but it's going to be something amazing. And none of that is something I've come up with. I've heard that in other traditional spiritual teachings. But as is often in the case, when we open up and when we start to look in this direction, we begin to see it, and then things come up for ways for you to play with this yourself. And that's what I'm sharing about, something, seeing that. I began to see that the lower parts of my nature, for me to be properly awake, for me to see something and be different, then my deeper spiritual nature needs to be more in control, needs to be the place where I go, the place where I turn to. So I had a perfect opportunity to play with this for myself. So I had a really, really itchy rash on my hand. It was driving me nuts. It was driving me crazy. And I did, at one point, I did scratch it a lot. And then I was trying not to scratch it. And I knew, I'm not stupid. I knew that scratching it wasn't going to help. I knew that scratching wasn't the answer. But my emotional self, if you like, that slightly lower part of myself, really wanted to rip the skin off my hand because it was driving me nuts. I'm sure you know what I mean. But I knew not to. I knew that it wasn't a good idea. So, and I've been teaching and playing and sharing with you a lot, if you've got any problems or anything, to look to source, to look in that direction, to look at what's creating, not at what is already created, when you want to have a different experience of something. So I thought to myself, okay, got the perfect opportunity here. Does it work with this kind of thing? Walk your talk. So my wayward emotions, if you like, would have me scratch. and my intellect, my knowing, you know, that slightly more sensible part of me would say, no, don't scratch. And so I knew what to do. I knew that scratching wasn't a good idea, but the pull to scratch was really strong. So I absolutely followed what I teach. I looked to source to define the divine mind. I thought of all the attributes of divine mind that were going to be helpful in this particular case, in this time when I wanted to really scratch. And guess what? It suddenly became really easy not to scratch. And in no time at all, this really irritating thing that was going on in my hand had cleared up. And one of the things that I love so much about this spiritual journey and looking in this direction and what happens when we do this is how practical it is. And that's why I like playing with this. This is why I like talking about walking my talk, because in real life situations, in real stuff that's going on for real people, this works. This is so helpful. I just love how practical it is in real life situations. And okay, maybe in the grand scheme of things, my skin irritation might not look much, but absolutely knowing that life works one way, and doing all life, the big, the small, and everything in between, doing all life that way is helpful, honestly, beyond measure. So that's today's little sharing, little gem. And if you want to know more about this, I'm actually, at the moment, I'm opening up a free 5-day adventure, problem-solving adventure, where we're going to be diving more deeply into exactly what I've been talking about. You know, if you've got itchy skin and it's a problem, how do you solve that problem? Well, we're going to be looking at this over 5 days, diving a little bit more deeply into everything that I share, and having some fun together, seeing what we can come up with, seeing what happens for us when we dive in that way. So the information for that will be underneath this video. Please do sign up. It would be great to have you along with me for the adventure. And there's other stuff under this video as well if you want to know more about me and what I do. Take care and have a really nice day. See you soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.